Now, what exactly is DTD? That is what we are going to now understand. A DTD comes in the form of a simple text file, which can be stored in a separate file or embedded within the XML file. Okay, so it comes in form of a simple text file, which can be stored in a separate file or embedded within the same XML file. So it is like a validating guideline kind of a document, which you can put it inside the XML document, or you can keep it separately and you can refer it inside the XML document. XML document referencing a DTD will contain the doc type declaration, so which is very important, right? So that is what we have to just understand. Now let us see that why to use DTD. I have already explained. It verifies that the data received is valid. It is used to verify its own data. It defines the legal building blocks of an XML document. Like these are the building blocks. These are the 10 tags or 15 tags or X number of tags are only allowed in the XML document. So that is what it says. First, it defines the legal building blocks. What are the allowed tags? It verifies that the data received is valid. What kind of a data, whether it is a string, number, and anybody is sending a lot of data in an XML file. And if the structure and format is not as per the DTD, it means that all that data is invalid and not proper. So it is used to verify own data. Defines the document a structure with a list of legal elements. This elements is nothing but tags. Okay. So this is what it says. This is the most important definition of this DTD. Defines a document structure with a list of legal elements. So in the DTD, if there is an element or tag defined, then you can use that, and that is what it works. Now let us see one example of it. Okay. Let me just go back. In XML, an element is a logical component of the document, and an attribute represents the characteristic of an element. So this was a basic definition. Now let us understand a sample DTD, how it looks like. So DTD generally starts with some DTD name. Okay, so it will start with a name called DTD name, some DTD name, and then it will say element and at list. So there is one thing called element, other things called attribute list. Now here it starts with element name, element content, and type. Again attribute, element name, attribute type, default values. So what it means is that it says that this element can have a children element of type this, and this element can have an attribute with this name of type this and with default value this. Now let us see that how it looks like. Okay. So first is declaring an empty element. That is what you can do, or element with data you can do, or element name any. Now element name, child element name also you can have. So this is the child element name which I am talking about here. Any means any element can be put here. So if I put here book and name, then what it means is that inside book only name, inside book name only the category name or topic name is allowed. So this is what restricts the relationship between child element and the parent element in an element XML tag. So what we have seen is that with element name can be empty, means this cannot have any child element. It can have any child element, or it can have a well defined child element. So this kind of gives a proper structure so that a particular element in an XML file can be restricted the way you want. Now here another thing, if you notice here, we have put here question mark. Now this means declaring a child which can come 0 or 1 occurrence of the same element. So you can have 0 times or 1 time. So you can have a father name and child name. Child name could be multiple times it can come, but multiple times does not mean that more than 1. It can have 0 or 1 occurrence only. If it is plus, then it can have more than 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. So depending on how you put it here, you can have parent and child element relationship. Now you can have a mixed content as well. So inside the DTD, you can declare a mixed content. So this is a parent element and these are all child elements. Okay, this can have multiple times, this must have, this must have, this may have, may not have, and this is PC data. Okay, any character data is perfectly fine. Now groups can be sequence element A, B, B, C, B, C or D, E, choice of sub elements or subgroups. So depending on how you want to put, you can also put it like this. You can put it like this, 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 you can put it. So the relationship of between parent element and child element can be any of the possible things. Now here is one example of a DTD. So let us start with a DTD. First it says that doc type book system example 3.dtd. Now this will have, this means that there is a DTD file. This means that example 3.dtd is a DTD. Now here is the DTD definition. First it says there should be book and inside that there should be details child element. Details element will have children called name, author, publication and price. Child element. Name will have character data, author will have type character data, publication will be character data, price will be character data, country will be fixed like China, count will be fixed like India, rights will be fixed like all rights reserved, price notation will be fixed like dollar. So basically what it says is that there are few things, few elements whose value are already defined and they are called entity. So either you can use entity or you can use element. So here we have declared few entities which can be used as a variable, and here book details, what it means that inside the book tag you must put details, inside the details tab only these things are allowed. Another example of a DTD, I can have a DTD with an element called rectangle and attribute list of rectangle is width C data 0. What it means is that rectangle must take a attribute called width who must have a character data and the default value will be 0 if you don't provide this attribute. Okay. So the structure syntax looks like very simple for an attribute. First give the element name, give the attribute name, give the data type and give some default values. So this is what it does. Here is the element name, attribute name, character data and default value. So this is the way you declare attribute for a element inside a DTD. Okay. Now here is, you can have a required attribute value or implied attribute value. So when you say attribute name, it could be a required attribute value or implied attribute value, it is up to you. So let us go here. So here there is a default attribute value. Okay, see this default attribute value. Now you can also have implied attribute value. What it means is that it is implied if you don't provide this attribute as well. Next is required attribute value. What it says is that if you do not provide this attribute, the validation of the XML file will fail. So if attribute name says that it is required, then you must provide this attribute as a part of the element so that the validation will not fail. Fixed attribute value, what it means is that the value of this attribute is fixed. You cannot change it and it cannot be changed after that. So for this element, let us assume that this element name I would say software version type, version release, and here it has to be fixed because it doesn't matter that at least for few months or a year that version number might not be changing. So that is the way to say that this attribute's value of this attribute cannot be changed, it is fixed. Now let us declare an element rectangle which is defined as an empty element with an attribute width of 0 and type character data. You can also declare attribute list as an entity. Now DTD can be categorized into two parts called internal DTD and external DTD. Internal DTDs are those which are written directly inside the XML document itself after the XML declaration. External DTD means that is a different DTD itself has been defined in a separate individual file who sits somewhere else. So this your XML document will be referred to external DTD documents, but sometimes they are are internal itself. Now here you can see that we are declaring a internal DTD. This is the DTD. This is the DTD, okay? Internal DTD. Now next we will see is that how do I use this DTD into something else. So you have to just put doc type movie system and put the name of the DTD file here, okay? So that's pretty much what it says is that 5.d, okay? It's movie. The external DTD file will be sitting somewhere else and it will look like this. Inside the DTD even entity declaration is possible. The way it goes is the same way: entity, entity name, entity value. So there is not much thing here. You have to just declare few things. Make sure you put entity name, make sure you put entity value, and once you put entity name and entity value, you are pretty much done. So this is what it will do. Okay. What is namespace? So XML namespace is not in the scope of our discussion, so we'll skip this part. So in this one, XML session, we have covered about external DTD, internal DTD, and we know that entities are like a variable which allows us to create an alias to some large piece of text, so that in the document we can refer to the same piece of text simply by referring to the alias. Next is we'll talk about how to do the XML hands-on.